PRC is available to residents of DuPage County at no charge. We're actually coming up on our 50th anniversary next year. If you're interested in anything about PRC, you can always reach out to me, or you can reach out to us at peoplesrc.org. If you have any questions throughout this presentation, just please save them until the end. And just kind of mute yourself for better quality. Feel free to turn on your video. It's always nice to be able to kind of see a face. If you have some sort of immediate thing that you're like, I'm not going to remember my question, you can always put it in the chat and we'll get to it at the end. Okay, just a little bit about the People's Resource Center. So we have a food pantry at our Wheaton location and our Westmont location, and pop-up food pantries in West Chicago. We do adult learning and literacy. So we help people get their GED. We just helped somebody supporting them in passing their citizenship exam. We do ESL. We have an art studio with classes for families, adults, and children. We have a clothes closet in Westmont, and we'll eventually have one again in Wheaton. We do computer training and access. So if you need a computer for school or work, or you don't know how to turn a computer. I mean, if you're here, you would know how to turn a computer on, but if you would like, kind of advanced skills in kind of Microsoft Office or Excel, we offer free classes for that, free certification. We have a really robust social services department. So we help with everything from rental assistance to utility assistance to car repair. We do referrals for medical care, and kind of everything in between. And then obviously we do job search assistance. So we do workshops like this throughout the county at different library partners. We focus on one-to-one job coaching with the focus on whatever it is that the client needs. So everybody's kind of in a different place in their job search. And so wherever that is, we're trying to help support you in that. We do resume writing, we do mock interviews, and we have an online job board that's updated almost daily. So career change. So plan and prepare for a successful transition. You're going to hear those P words a lot, plan and preparation. Really to make any change in your career as one that you're choosing to make. Planning and preparation are going to kind of get you there kind of more efficiently and better, kind of more rooted. Like it's going to be less chaotic if you do some preparation for that. So kind of what are our goals for today? First, to understand how to plan and prepare for a career change. We talk about in our job program, we talk about planning and preparation all the time. All of these things are skills, right? They're all planning skills. They're all kind of interpersonal skills that you can learn and develop. Getting the job that you want, getting the career that you want, don't normally happen randomly. I mean, sometimes they do, they kind of fall into people's laps, but often it takes you have to understand yourself, kind of understand what you want and where you're going. And so there's tools and skills you can develop to help get you there. We're going to kind of review, again, the steps and tools that can kind of assist you with this process. And hopefully you'll walk away with a little bit better understanding of how to plan a career change and with a little bit more confidence. So why do people change careers? So there's a ton of reasons. This obviously is not the end all be all of why somebody changes their career, but often people do it for new opportunities, right? Better pay and benefits is huge, right? That's often the main reason that people change careers, and it's often one of the best ways to get better pay, right? Studies have shown that the way people get better pay is generally through career changes, not necessarily through promotions. So often that's why people change careers and make those kinds of shifts. Sometimes people want more fun, right? It's where we spend such a huge portion of our time in our day is at work. And if you're having a really miserable experience, sometimes people want to change to have that be a little bit more enjoyable. An opportunity to give back, right? I work at a nonprofit. Often people work at nonprofits or places like libraries where Matt works to have an opportunity to give back to their community and to invest in the people around them. Job security, right? If you're in a field where you're like, I don't know if I'm going to have a job in a few years or whatever trends are going on, people get laid off, there's a dismissal. Sometimes you're unhappy with your current career or employer, right? You want something different. You don't feel fulfilled, something's missing. And your career, your dream career has changed, right? All the things that we wanted to do when we were 18, hopefully they're a little different as we age, right? And oftentimes right now people want, with everything that's going on in the world, people want something that's going to be like recession proof, or if another kind of catastrophic thing happens, they want to know I have a job that I can go to. So what is difficult about changing careers? It's super stressful and it's a lot of work. I think in the studies on like most stressful events, changing careers or getting a new job is like right up there with like a death in the family, right? It's really, really stressful. It can feel like starting over, especially in an effort to kind of get to your new career. If you have to take a step back or you take a pay cut, you don't necessarily know what the impact will be on your finances, right? Even if you know kind of what your benefits package is going to be or what the projected kind of pay is going to be, you don't really know what that's going to kind of work out to until you see your first paycheck or you kind of understand what the rhythms of that environment is. And as much as you can do research, you're not always sure, am I gonna enjoy it? Am I really making the right decision? Right? I think we all fear making the wrong decision. And sometimes it requires new skills or knowledge, right? Especially if you're making a really significant transition, you might have to go back to school. I would caution to not kind of quit your current job without a game plan. Now, you did hear me say a game plan and not necessarily another job lined up, right? So I'm working with a client right now who quit her job because she knew that, you know, she needed a break to take care of her health and she wanted to go back to school. She had a whole plan in place for what she was going to do and how she was going to find her next position. So it wasn't necessarily that she had another job lined up. She just had a really clear game plan of what she was doing. So there's career pivots versus kind of leaps, right? Um, and so oftentimes people, you know, if they're working in accounting and maybe they decide, you know, I was a nurse a long time ago and I'd love to go back to being a nurse. Or I would like to make kind of a really significant kind of career transition. And so there's ways to do that to make it a bit easier than kind of doing this huge leap. And I would always recommend kind of doing a career pivot versus a leap. So a career pivot might take you a little bit longer, but it's going to get you where you want to go. And it's going to help you build networks. So 85% of jobs are gotten through networking. We'll talk a little bit more about networking throughout the presentation. Networking, even in the digital age with Indeed and LinkedIn and social media, networking is still the way that people get most jobs. So doing a career pivot allows you to kind of build your network as you transition. So an example of what a career pivot would be, let's say I work in accounting for a large corporation. And what I really want to do is work in a nursing field for Dooley Hospital. What I'm going to do instead of going to, and applying necessarily maybe to nursing school would be getting an accounting position at Dooley, right? It's something that I'm already doing, but I'm moving towards the field that I want to go to. And then once I'm there, you know, something like a hospital, they're going to have lots of resources to help you with education. It's going to be easier to network with people that are maybe working in the field that you want to work in. And so then you can go from accounting to additional education or working in nursing. So that's what I mean by pivot. You're kind of making kind of a two-step to get kind of where you want to go. I would always recommend that over trying to make a leap. It's going to be way less stressful than doing a leap. So commit to the process. I like the graphic. Commit to the process of doing a kind of a career change, right? You need to be prepared. It's going to take some time. Any kind of time you're doing a job search or a job transition, it doesn't normally happen overnight. But really important to this is you have to conduct kind of an honest self-assessment, right? Why do you want to switch jobs, right? Is it just because you really don't like your boss, but you like what you do? Like you really kind of need to be really clear about why are you wanting to switch fields? Is it because you've discovered a new passion for working in the community? Is it because you've become passionate about a specific thing? You've, you know, different life experiences. What is it that you want to be doing? And I would really recommend doing research. And research, but not just research online, right? We can Google almost anything now, right? You know, I Google things while I'm talking to people, right? What I recommend in terms of research, especially if you're interested in making a career transition, is what we call informational interviews, which is go and talk to somebody in the field that you want to work in or at the place you want to work. and ask them, and don't just talk to one person, right? Talk to a variety of people, right? So a few months ago, I was doing informational interviewing in the funeral industry because I was very curious about what that is. I know it's like a growth industry, and would that be opportunities for my clients that come in? Would they be like, would that be something that could work for them? Like, what's the education involved? Like, what is the outlook for that? What are the stresses involved? What kind of industry is it? And I learned a lot, right? I talked to about 4 different people that worked at different levels within that industry, and what did they do and what was their experience. And I learned a lot about who would be a good fit for that, how physically demanding it was, which I didn't even think about, all of the education involved. So do a lot of research, and network, right? In part of researching and doing informational interviewing, you're going to be building a network. So, and when I want to caution about informational interviewing is exactly that. You're gathering information. You're not asking for a job. You're not asking someone to do you a favor outside of giving you, 15 to 20 minutes of their time to talk with you about the industry that they're in, and how they feel about the position that they're working in, and what that looks like. So building your network throughout this is really important. And prepare your story, right? So especially if you're making a really significant transition, you want to be able to say why, and you want to be able to say why concisely so that an employer understands why you might want to be moving from corporate accounting to working in healthcare care field, right? People don't always understand what that is. If your story is not obvious to someone looking at your resume, you want to be able to explain that well, and you want to be able to know what that is for yourself. So why are you considering a change, right? What is the extent of your desired change? What are your strengths and your interests? Often people, and there's a slide in here later that talks about different growth industries and for the future. I wouldn't recommend making your career decisions necessarily solely on what is, the desired growth of a field, right? If you hate the sight of blood, maybe working in nursing is not a good fit for you, right? You have to kind of know what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your interests, kind of what is the priority for you in your career, right? I think a good question to ask yourself in the midst of trying to figure out what kind of things that you want to be doing in terms of a career transition, kind of what moments or situations in your work life have brought you joy or pride, right? Is there a project or a scenario or situation that you're really proud of, or that you really enjoyed, right? Whatever that is, if you start seeing a theme around that, that can be a good indicator of something in which you grow, you can grow in, and that you're strong in, and that's a skill that you have. So how to find your strengths. Listen to feedback, right? If somebody has said, hey, you're really good at doing this, can you think about those moments, right? There has to be time for self-reflection throughout this whole process. Ask others directly, and ask, former coworkers or current coworkers, like ask people that are going to give you kind of positive, like they're going to give you straightforward, kind of positive, constructive criticism or feedback in what you do and what you do well. Pay attention to when you are most productive, right? We're going to talk about SWOT analysis in a little bit. But you can do a SWOT analysis and utilize free online resources to find your key strengths and interests. So I really like personally the ONET online interest profiler. ONET is the Federal Labor Department. It's their online interest profiler. And it can give you kind of a sense of kind of what your strengths and what your weaknesses are in terms of like, what do you like doing, and what do you gravitate towards. I would caution you against finding any strengths, like strengths finder test that's going to tell you when you grow up, you should be a florist or something. We all took those in high school. Like, this is your ideal career. Because there's no single test that's going to tell you what the best field or fit for you is based on the different priorities in your life between like your family and your desires and kind of what your goals are. But there are tests that can tell you, give you a sense of what you're good at and what you like. So a SWOT analysis. So this is kind of an example, right? So what are your strengths, right? What are your professional qualifications? What's your experiences? What kinds of fields have you worked in? Even if they've been varied, right? What do you do in terms of like your hobbies? What kinds of things do you volunteer in? And what are your opportunities, right? Like, is there opportunities, at your current place of work to maybe switch departments? Or have you heard of, a friend or, somebody else that you've talked with that says, oh, this opportunity is going to come up over here, right? What are your weaknesses, right? Is there maybe a technical skill that you're not super strong in that you can work on and develop? Is maybe your network not that great, right? Because you've been working at the same place for a while. How do you go out and go meet different people? And kind of what are your threats, right? Like if you're working in the tech industry recently and there's been lots of layoffs, like what's kind of coming down the pipeline? Like, is there somebody else, that's got kind of similar strengths as you that's applying for similar positions in your company or in your department? So when you're making these transitions, and this is just kind of one example, but this can be helpful if you're a visual person, you kind of want everything all in one place, is just to kind of take an assessment of what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Kind of what are my threats? So like, let's say, that you've got a bunch of family stuff coming up or a bunch of health stuff coming up. Maybe a big career transition is not, it's not the right time for that, right? So just to kind of take a second and think about kind of where are you, kind of get a snapshot, right? And these types of analysis can change all the time. So you're going to want to take some time and just kind of think about those. What does that look like for you? And it's going to look different for every person. And identify necessary skills. So you kind of want to look at job postings and think about how your skills relate. And look at multiple different job postings kind of in a field that you're interested in, right? Skills, like sometimes when people write job descriptions, they kind of write their idealized version of, I would love to get a person that had all of these things, right? So you kind of want to see if there's themes that come up in terms of like technology or education or experience. Use a skill matching tool like Tag Crowd. So Tag Crowd is a free online resource that you can use to load in a job description or your resume and kind of identify what are the keywords in that resume or in your job description and how much do they match. Go on LinkedIn and look at other profiles of people who have the job that you want, right? What is their experience? What skills do they list? Another resource, as we mentioned before, Own It Online is a really great resource to help you kind of figure out if you're interested in transitioning to, I don't know, travel or whatever, you can put that in. And they're going to give you every kind of iteration of what that could possibly be, administrative assistant or whatever. And it's going to give you the in-demand tech skills that are involved. What are the projected growth for that industry? So you've got lots of resources to help identify skills. In this process, don't just reference one thing. And the same thing with the job search. You wouldn't want to just use Indeed. You want to use multiple different things to help you identify kind of what are your skills, right? And you can look at kind of the work history of people on LinkedIn and how do they describe their roles, right? Sometimes people have like interesting wording to describe a role. So like at PRC, we've had front desks assistants, and we've called them like everything from, I think, like front desk hospitality to now they're front desk associates, right? Words are just words. They are using words to kind of describe something that's similar. So if you can get kind of a grouping of words to describe what it is that you're interested in, that's going to give you a better sense of what is the direction of that role or that field. Transferable skills. This is really important. And you need to take stock of your skills, kind of both hard and soft. And what do you have from your previous career, from your industry, from volunteering, from different experiences that you've had? Which skills will be the most relevant to the new one that you're doing? Which of these skills are transferable? How might you build or enhance on them? Kind of which ones should you highlight? So a really kind of A more recent example of somebody that highlighted their transferable skills that it ended up making the news was somebody that was running a dance studio applied to be a producer, I believe at the Emmys. And in her cover letter, she bullet pointed out all of the transferable skills she had in terms of like, she understood the demographics that they were working with. She knew how to work in a high stress environment. She knew how to work with high stress people. And she bullet pointed it all out, even though she'd never had experience running that type of event before. The producers were so impressed with her ability to kind of explain all of the skills she currently had and how she could bring that forward to them, that she ended up being interviewed and then eventually hired for that position. So really transferable skills, we all have more transferable skills than we think. And so take time to kind of sit and think about it. And honestly, this is going to sound kind of hokey, but I think it can be helpful, is to like use a thesaurus, right? If you've got a skill and you've got like one word that you keep using for it, like administrative, pull out a thesaurus and think, well, what are the other words that people can use to describe the same thing, right? Sometimes just looking at a word or an idea differently can give you a sense of, oh, I could transfer it in that way, or that applies to this role or this field, right? You kind of have to have a robust understanding of what your skills are and how they could apply, because most skills can apply between industries. And so these are what they say is kind of the list of most transferable skills, but it will really depend on kind of where you've been and where you're going. But obviously problem solving, analytical reasoning, kind of critical thinking, leadership, adaptability, these are all soft skills, right? Soft skills are the hardest skills to teach somebody, right? How to be kind, how to listen, how to be, friendly. Those are all really important skills that are really hard to teach, right? Computer skills, skills with specific software, skills doing a specific task. Those are like hard skills that most people can be taught, right? But soft skills, they're hard to teach and they're really valuable. So, having a list and understanding of what your soft skills are can be really helpful. And then having an understanding of what are the hard skills specific to the industry that you're going to, and, is there an easy way to learn that, right? Like I was watching, there's like a 3-hour video on YouTube on Salesforce, right? I didn't know anything about Salesforce, so I thought I'd sit there and watch this video to try to learn more, right? There's ways to kind of self-teach, to teach yourself a lot of these things. And so, just keep that in mind in terms of don't be intimidated if you think, oh, I don't have this skill. There's lots of ways to learn those skills. And, in terms of how do you close skill gaps, right? So the College of DuPage is right around the corner. Coursera, Udemy, Springboard. There's one that I'm doing right now called edX.org. And they offer free tech classes and free certifications. And they're legitimate online classes from various schools throughout the country. You can do them online. You can continue like a graduate degree program depending on what you're looking for. Certification programs, as mentioned earlier, PRC has various computer training programs. If you're like, all I need for this position is Excel certification, we can help you with that. Mentoring, which can be part of networking, can be really valuable, right? Professional organizations, industry events or conferences, volunteering, all of these things can help you kind of close your skill gap and understand what are the skills that are really needed, right? Sometimes there's the skills that are listed on paper, and then there's the skills that you see when you walk through a door. And then you can also, if you realize, hey, in 6 months, I'm going to switch positions, and I know the field that I'm going into is going to need XYZ skill. Maybe there's something that you can do in your current role that can help you develop that skill now, right?
Okay, Nicole, I think this is where I start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, research careers on the rise. Information resources. As you can see, there's a list of places where you can look for information. Bureau of Labor Statistics, US News, and World Report. Those are good places to find out what careers are on the rise. And of course, LinkedIn has the top 15 in-demand jobs in 2024. If any of those are of interest to you, it's always a good idea to take a look at their requirements and then see which of those requirements you fulfill and maybe apply for some of those positions. And what's hot in 2024? It appears that every year careers change and the requirements change as well. If you look at 2024, technology is very hot, healthcare, e-commerce, customer service, and customer service can be at a call center as well as working from home. And customer service is not only related to just answering the phone, it can also entail working in an office, handling calls for internal customers or external customers. And it's actually a fun job. And I tell you this from experience. When I first transitioned from human resources to customer service, I was very reluctant. I didn't want to be in a call center environment. Well, little did I know that I would be handling clients that required IT work, and I was handling a number of accounts, and I found that very interesting. So I was servicing a group of businesses in the area, and you develop a lot of relationships that way too. So always remember when you're dealing with external people, make it a point to develop a good relationship with them. And whenever you're ready for a career change, they may even have a job for you, when you're ready to change. So keep those things in mind. Renewable energy, you got digital marketing and data science. And of course, AI, artificial intelligence. So there's a ton of choices that you can look for. You just have to pay attention to what it is that you want to do in the next step that you want to take forward. Now, example, healthcare supporting staff. Since 2019, the hiring for these positions has increased by more than 34%. The reason is that all the baby boomers are needing healthcare. And there's a variety of things that you can do in the healthcare industry. It can be from healthcare assistant to a pharmacy technician, dental assistant, home health aide. It's all based on what skills you bring to the table and what it is that you would like to do, what will bring you fulfillment. And of course, the skills, depending on which career you select. For instance, patient education. If you don't have that education, as Nicole mentioned, take a course to learn the skills that you need for that particular position. Data entry. Most people know how to enter data in the computer, so that's not really hard unless you don't know how to use computers. Well, then take a course. And then physician relations. There's another area where you may need to know what kind of things are necessary for that position. And education, 83% of hires have a bachelor's degree or higher. So think about that. If you don't have a degree, you're competing with 83% of people that have degrees. If you already have a degree, then you don't need to battle that as much. And then the salary ranges. Some people are not happy making $65,300 a year. Maybe you want 106,000. So if that's what you want, make sure that you have the proper skills to request that kind of a salary. Research ONET online. As Nicole mentioned, that's another tool that you can use to assess your skills and also to see what kind of careers better fit with your skills. And you can have the soft skills that can be transferable to those positions. But if you don't have some of those the skills, you can always take a class or you can take a short course, get a certificate. For instance, I know in human resources, they have the SHRM or the PHRM. Those are shorter courses that you can take, and they really give you the credentials to get any position in human resources because they only focus on those specific requirements to be a good human resources manager, associate, coordinator, you name it. You know, you can get into any field in human resources. Research on it, my next move. Do take a very serious look to self-assess yourself, because sometimes we think, oh, I'm tired of what I'm doing, I'm ready for a career change, but you're not sure of what it is that you want to do or what's going to make you happy. And when we say happy, we don't mean ha ha ha, we mean fulfillment. You want personal fulfillment. You want to be rewarded for your efforts. And that means you are happy doing what you're doing, you're happy with the group that you're with, and you're making the money that you want to pay the bills. Basically, I remember when I was in certain careers and I kept asking myself, oh, maybe I should try something new. I'm tired of doing this. And I would stop and think, okay, so I would write down all of my soft skills. What is it that I can do without any effort and that I already know? And I would write a whole list of things. And believe me, that came in handy back in 1992 when my job was phased out from human resources. And at that time, I was doing training and I was traveling. And that's really what I wanted to do. I would travel like every 3 months. And I was teaching people how to use corporate human resources for a Fortune 500 company. And that was really one of the jobs that I really enjoyed. So when that came to an end, I was kind of depressed that why did this happen? So, you know, don't be too surprised when your job gets phased out. As Nicole mentioned at the beginning, some people change careers because they need to. Maybe you were laid off or your position got eliminated, or maybe you want to change careers. And it's a lot easier to handle the change when you initiate it. If you feel I need a change because this job is not fulfilling my interest, that makes a lot more sense. But if you have to go and find a job because your previous job got eliminated, and let's say it was your preferred job, like in my case, it took me a little while, I have to admit it, to kind of get the courage to say, okay, so what's the next thing I need to do? And I wrote down all of my skills. I did a couple of the tests, you know, profile testing to see where I fit in. And then I eliminated all the things that the testing equipment said that I would be good at, like administrative, I could be a leader and blah, blah, blah. I eliminated the ones that I didn't want, and I only focus on the one that I really want. And then I said, okay, I have the skills here. That's what I want to do. And that's exactly what I pursued. So do look at, I want to be a research career with the keywords, browse careers by the industry. What kind of company do you want to work for? You need to know that. I've always liked big corporations. And then tell us what you like to do. So that's where you really want to be sure that this is what you want to do. And once you know that, it's a lot easier to make the transition. Mobilize your network. I cannot emphasize this enough. As Nicole mentioned, you need to know how to network, network, and network. Attend meetings when they offer you a networking meeting at the library or any place else. Just dress up as a business professional. And that is the key point. Believe it or not, first impressions go a long way. If you are likable and you have a positive personality, people gravitate to you. But if you have a pout or you look depressed, people walk away from you. And I learned that from feedback that I received from other people when I used to go to seminars. And I would ask my friends too. And, you know, so do you think I'm outgoing or am I an introvert? I always thought of myself as an introvert. And they said, you're not an introvert. And so then I started seeing myself more as an extrovert. And so do talk to your friends and do listen to their comments, because they help you build up your definition of who you really are. And it says here, offer to take people out to coffee. Well, I still go and have coffee breaks with my friends once a month, and we talk about everything. And normally we talk about trips, because all of us are at that age where we can take a trip here and there, and then, talk about what we like to do. And so it's a good idea to talk about work, especially if that's what you're looking for. And attend virtual conferences. You'd be surprised how much you learn on a virtual conference. And that's also a way to join network organizations and do read blogs. Some people think that blogs can be boring, but not if you're reading the proper blogs that can help you with your career changes. Also join the fun groups. You'd be surprised how many people that are having fun can be the right hookup for your next career change, because they may have different ideas that maybe you didn't consider. Communicating your transition story, that is very critical. Make sure you really know yourself, as Nicole mentioned as well in the previous slides. Do the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the SWOT analysis. That is critical to yourself, to see yourself as you really are, because only you know yourself. Sometimes we tend to deny ourselves if we have a certain fear, like, what are you afraid of? Or are you not afraid of anything? So again, that's part of your personality. What traits come easily to you? And those are your strengths, because whatever's easy to you, that's a strength. If you find yourself like debating, oh, I hate getting up early, I really don't like talking to all those people, then maybe you're not really a people's person as much as you thought you were, Or if you're afraid to go to a big meeting because, oh, there's too many people there. Do I need to talk to all of them? The way that I learned to network, if you go to any event, make it a point to talk to at least 3 to 5 people, and make sure you remember their names and what they do, and make a mental note of it. And I'm not saying that all of them are going to be interesting, but it's a good exercise to remember who did what and in the event. And if you have a business card, it doesn't have to be a professional business card. It could just be a card that you can print from Vistaprint. They give you like 250 cards free with your name and your phone number and your email. And if you have any special interest, you can say, I like this, And when you meet people, it's a nice way to exchange business cards. I used to be intimidated by having a professional card, right? And I used to think that, oh, that looks a little too out there, like I didn't think myself as very important. Let's put it that way. And then I realized that I am important. You know what? I need a business card with my name and my phone number and email so that people remember me, because they may have something for me later on and they can think, oh, I remember talking to that lady. She seemed interesting. You know what? They'll give you a call. So do have some business cards on hand. So what needs to be communicated? A business card is a great idea. And then the resume and cover letter. I know a lot of people hate the cover letters, and people have a hard time preparing the cover letters. Resumes, you can get help from People's Resource Center, resume writers to help you with that. As long as you have listed all the things that you have done, they'll put them in a nice, format for you to show a very professional resume. But the cover letter, that's another area where you need to introduce your strengths, as Nicole mentioned. Don't be afraid to tell your own story. Say, I am a positive, enthusiastic person that love meeting people. I am good at A, B, C, and D. And that's your cover letter. And the rest of the information, you already have it on your resume. So you don't need to repeat what you put on your resume. You just need to introduce yourself with your cover letter. And don't make it real lengthy. Just make it very professional and just one, paragraph. And then thank you for taking a look at my resume. And I look forward to meeting you, and I'm available Monday through Friday. Give the times. That is critical. Make sure you let that person who's reading the rest of your cover letter that you are available to meet with them, either virtually or in person. Nowadays everything is virtual, like what we're doing right now. So it's a lot easier. But even if you do a virtual interview, make sure that you look professional. And you don't need to show your whole body. You're sitting there, like we are right now. And then the elevator pitch. We all know about that from the training with People's Resource Center as well. It cannot be longer than 1 minute, because then you bore people and they're like, oh, she's going on and on and on. No, just say who you are and what you would like to do. And that's it. And always smile. Don't be afraid to smile. You don't have to do a ha ha ha, but do have a smile. Practice your smile on the mirror. Sometimes we think that maybe my smile is too big, or maybe I'm not smiling enough. Believe it or not, be comfortable with yourself. Don't try to fake it or be somebody that you're not. Just look at yourself in the mirror and like yourself. Number one, you have to like yourself so others can like you as well. And all of us, let me tell you, I gotta say, I strongly believe every human being is likable, okay? So don't be afraid of being liked. And do look at the LinkedIn profiles to see which one you like. You may want to copy somebody's, format. That's not a bad thing to do, just put in your own qualifications. And networking again, and prepare for the interview. And People's Resource Center, the job coach like myself, we can help you with the interview process and practice your interviewing skills. Connect the dots. Highlight the transferable skills. Here again, this is part of what you're good at, what comes naturally to you, and you do it without any effort. You already know that. So, and then focus on what you'll contribute instead of what you lack. That is very true. Don't focus on negatives. Always focus on your positive points. And let the other person, the interviewer, ask you questions. Well, how do you feel about this? Always be ready to say, I am willing to learn. I learn quickly. I'm a quick learn. Use those little phrases, I am very adaptable. Those are key phrases that you can use when you're being interviewed. And then use the SAR statements and fill in the so what. So we know what the SAR statements are. Okay, next slide explains it. Communicating your transition plan, the why, how, highlight, and transferable skills. So why do you want to change? Only you know the answer. You're not happy with your current job. You need a new job because your old one phased out. So as I mentioned before, changing jobs because you want better opportunities, better pay, or you want to grow with the company, those are great reasons to state, I am looking for a new opportunity to grow within the company. Don't say, oh, well, I lost my job. Don't even go there. Just say, well, my position was phased out. That's a keyword too to use. Instead of saying I was laid off or I was let go, don't use those words. Those are more negative. Say my position was phased out and I am looking for new opportunities. And that's how you want to highlight your transferable skills. They may ask you, so what were you doing before? And just say the main skills that you have. Oh, I was handling A, B, and C, and leave it at that. For more seasoned workers, It's not unreasonable that you may feel a desire for change, and that is true. But that is also true for new people on the workforce. I know one person who likes to change jobs every 2 years, not because he doesn't like his job, but because he wants to be in a higher position and more pay. And because he already proved himself in that previous position, he wants to be challenged to something more. And that's my son. And when he asked me the first time, he says, well, I've been in this position 2 years. And I'm looking to see if there's other opportunities out there, and I don't see anything yet. So I don't want to be stuck in a position that I'm going to get old. He says, I want to continue to grow and learn new things. So guess what? He applied for another position. He got a higher pay raise and a higher title. He loves it. And I think that's fascinating. I would myself, being an old timer or from a different era, I would have never done that. But young people don't stay in one position for long, and they don't want to be told that, oh, your position is going to be phased out. Oh, no, he moves on before anything happens. So keep that in mind too. Don't get too comfortable in one position, even though you have been in the same job for years. Don't assume that, oh, this is the job I'm going to retire from. Or, oh, I have a pension plan here. This is never going to change. Well, some jobs do change. And even the corporate 500 companies that used to have pension plans, they no longer offer that. They've always offered 401ks, or other types of plans. And keep that in mind. Don't get too comfortable and assume that, oh, this is where I'm going to retire from. Because it used to be that if you got a good job with a good company, that's the company you wanted to stay with, to retire from, and continue to grow with them. Well, that is the exception now, quite frankly. Very few companies offer pension plans. I think the only ones that offer pension plans are some utility companies like Exelon, Night Gas, and those are very good paying companies. So don't ever, exclude them from your job search, because these are big corporations and they have a lot of positions. So do consider those when you're thinking of career changes. Now, experience, maturity, and tenure can outweigh some skills gaps. And the only reason that is true is because you have done a lot of things in your previous employment versus the newer people. Maybe they haven't experienced a lot of the skills that you bring to the table. So don't undersell your skills. How do you know you're ready? Okay, well, practice your story on your trusted family, your friends, your mom, your dad, your best friends. Explain to them why you want to change. And again, make it simple. Don't make it lengthy. It's almost like the elevator speech. Know yourself and be comfortable with what you're saying, because this is your reality, not anybody else's. Now, finalize your resume, cover letter to include your new transition story. So remember that. If you used to say, well, I was working at a hospital, helping with A, B, and C, and now you want to do something more fun. Let's say you want to go into marketing. That would be an extreme change, right? Well, if you have the skills, you went to school, you took the marketing classes, now you want to say, well, I would like to apply my creative skills, and I just graduated and that's what I like to do. I'm very creative. I love to write. I like to communicate with people. And there you go. So you need to change that story that you used to have to the new one. And complete your certifications and skill assessments. And People's Resource Center do allow you to check your skill assessments. There's a couple of systems there. We used to call one Connexa, and now it's called something else, right, Nicole?
Yeah. They still have that then.
Yes. So if you've taken the training through People's Resource Center, that's why you're here. You know all the other systems that you can use to assess your skills. And also, that validates your experience. And maybe you'll do so much better in some of those skill assessment tests on things that you didn't even know that you knew. So make sure you use those when you go for the interview.
So that's what we were talking about.
That's the name of the new program, yes.
Mhm.
Assessment is SHL's Talent Central,
Yeah.
KX. It used to be called Connexa, right?
Mm-hmm.
So stay positive. That is critical to your job search. Even if nobody's looking at you, smile at yourself. And before you get on the phone or before you start any research, think positive and think, today I am going to do something positive. I'm going to find a position that I like. And you will find something. So show you're serious by having done your homework, meaning you've already outlined all your strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. So focus on your strengths. Anyway, when you go for a job interview, they'll ask you, what are your weaknesses? Don't give a list of your weaknesses. Only list one or two that can be made a positive. And I tell the people when I help them with the interview sessions that to say something like, I am a perfectionist in the sense that I like to do my job well the first time. So some people may think that being a perfectionist is being too detail oriented. No, it means that you are focused on getting the job done right. You see? So make sure that you use those words when you're getting ready for the interview. What are your weaknesses? The other one, there's so many things that you can come up with. And I usually, when I help people with a job interview, I tell them, so tell me, what is one of your weaknesses? And when they tell me, I said, so how would you explain that? And they want to give a whole story. I go, no, no, no. Make it short and simple and make it into a positive. Okay. So that's what I would strongly suggest. Benefits of career change. You can develop new skills because you're going to learn the things that you need for the new job that you want. Earn more money. Obviously, if you are preparing yourself for a better job, you want more money. We all want more money. Achieve greater happiness and freedom. And by that is fulfillment to yourself. When I say happiness, to me, it's more personal fulfillment. Freedom is a freedom to use your creative skills, that you have the freedom to provide ideas. Like when you write a letter, somebody's not dictating the letter to you. Make sure you use your own creativity to use the best words possible. Find work that's more interesting. Again, what's interesting to you? Learn how to adapt. That is very critical. You need to have the ability to adapt to the new company, to the new way of thinking, because every company has a culture and not every company is the same. I noticed a big change going from a corporate 500 corporation to a small company. And even though I had a lot of freedom in the small company, and the only reason I had a lot of freedom is that they didn't know anything about human resources, and I kind of created my own position. So the owner of the company said, do whatever you want, just run it by me. And, as long as we know what's going on, that's okay. It was fun for me. But again, the opportunities to continue to learn, I had to create my own learning opportunities. I would say to the boss, I need to take a class on this because things are changing and I need to know what's changing. And he would ask me, how much is the class or the seminar? It's $300, but I really need it to do my job well. Okay. So you have to be ready to, provide answers when you change jobs as well. Don't be afraid to ask for additional training if you need additional training. Okay. And that's how you control your career. That's the key point. And develop new relationships. Always be ready to talk to anybody. Don't be afraid to introduce yourself. And who knows, out of that new relationship may come a new job or a new opportunity, even within the company, just so you know. Always be friendly to people and smile, and you'll create relationships without any problems. Jumpstart or review all of the bullet points that Nicole mentioned in some of her slides, and then some of the ones that I just mentioned. But review the steps and the tools, and by all means, have a confident approach. When you go for a new career change, be confident that this is what you want, and you will get it. So what's your next move?